Hello and welcome to episode 72 of On My Studio Table. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you'll enjoy what I share with you today. I've been making progress on my coverlet of comfort after a short break, and also doing a lot more stitching on my scroll, although at first glance you might not think so. So I'll just see what eventuates with this video, and thank you so much for your company. If you've been watching my social media, and also in the previous videos, you'll see that I've made this from eco-dyed and printed fabrics. I've used Osnaburg and vintage Japanese linen for the background, which I've eco-printed, and then added other scraps left over from other projects from my box of quite small pieces in some cases. And I just love the way the colours coordinate together. I used a piece of cloth twine that I made for another project that was too short, and attached it as a closure, and it's just right for the scroll. I added a button for strength, and I also hemmed this edge to make it strong enough. I'm leaving the edges to fray, as I've mentioned before, because I love that look. I'm being a bit more methodical as I'm working on this. When I first did it, I did about the first half metre and finished that section pretty much and started to get into the next part of it. And I've really enjoyed that, and I have now an idea where I'm heading with it. But now I think that I just need to try and continue it and make it cohesive, but using a different process. So what I'm doing is I'm actually doing all of one thing at a time. So for example, I'm doing cross stitch on all these couched strips. So I decided to do cross stitch right to the end for the whole 2.5 meters of the scroll. Then when I finished the cross stitch, I decided to do some more of these circular blanket stitch designs. So I've gone along the whole length of it and finished that where I want them. After that, I started to outline the couch strips. So I've done that up to a certain extent. I've only done one row on the top, and I'm starting to do another row underneath. And then after that, I'll probably add some found objects, or possibly even just finish these circles. I think that's what I'll do. I'll finish the circles first. So I'll do them like this, where I just did a running stitch and then centered it with some more circular blanket stitch. Then after that, I'll start adding the found objects, such as the clothes pegs components from broken clothes pegs. This is from some lingerie. And what else? Oh yes, a squashed bottle cap. And I have some other items too, such as old hair slides and so on, that I want to add to this. So it's a labour of love. It's something that I'm doing just because I enjoy it and because I like using up the bits and pieces that might not be useful for much else. And they just come into their own in a project like this. I've made many scrolls, and I just keep doing them every now and again, especially when I have fabrics that I think would suit a project like this. This one may be eventually for sale, but I would like to enter it in some exhibitions first. So I'll let you know what happens with it, and I'll also keep sharing it until it's finished. I was playing with this piece of fabric this morning and draped it on the mannequin, and I suddenly realised there were possibilities. I folded the top just to make it sit better, and it looked like a collar. And then I thought maybe I could turn this into something that's wearable. And I love how that happened. I have some other fabrics also, some vintage wool and some vintage silk that I've eco-printed. And I'm thinking about adding something to the back and maybe to the whole bottom edge as well, to turn it into either a shrug or a jacket. So watch this space. I think it will be hand-stitched as I usually do these days, and I think it will make an interesting piece of wearable art. After a break, it's been lovely to continue with the Coverlet of Comfort. This is the October section, and I thought it was nearly 16 squares with the feather stitch edging, but I've realised that I've also done 2 up here. So I've nearly done 18. That means I've got 10 to go because there are 28 squares altogether. These are the threads that I've been using to do the edges of the squares, but I have introduced this one. This one is for a new thing that Kathryn has showed us, and I'll just move this along so you can see it. Here you'll see that I've actually cut a hole just through the top layer, so the back is still complete, the foundation piece. And because I fused my squares on rather than invisibly basted them, I had to cut through this and also the vintage Japanese linen. Then you tuck a piece underneath, and the idea is to do an eyelet stitch around there. So I'm just about to do the eyelet stitch, and that's what I'd like to use for it. What I've tucked in underneath is a piece of vintage embroidery. I had a bit of a play with some pieces that I cut out from vintage doilies and so on, and I thought these were lovely, but they were a bit too big, and I didn't really want to cut up that lovely shape or this one. So I put them aside, and I found 2 embroideries of wattle blossom. And I thought, how appropriate is that? This section is about memory, and wattle blossom is a wonderful thing in Tasmania in the spring, and we have wattles on our land. So it's part of my life experience that we see this every year since I've lived in Australia. So I've cut them into rough squares, and then I tucked one piece into here behind this piece here. Of course, I now have a circle, so that's possibly going to be used as well. So maybe I could put that on top of another square. I have drawn a circle also on this one, ready to cut it and stitch it, and there will be 4 of them. So they will all have a bit of wattle embroidery. I think the other ones that I'll do will be those. So it will just scatter nicely across. So I'll do 4, which means I'll have 3 more of these also, so they may end up being scattered across as well. It's just lovely to be open to possibilities. The other thing is that after I've done all that, so I still have a lot to do, because this is about memory, and because memories can be indistinct sometimes, the idea for this week's video that Kathryn put out was to add some kind of veiling. So something that's partially see-through that can be laid over maybe some of the squares. The suggestion was to just pick out individual squares and stitch one of the transparent or translucent pieces over the top. But I immediately thought, oh, wouldn't it be lovely if I could trail something over it? So I've prepared this piece. And I think that's what I'll do. Now this is sideways because I've had to fit it into the camera shot. But I think that's how I'm going to operate with this. And I'm probably going to let it fall in folds and then stitch the folds down. So that's my thought at the moment. Some of these memories are from long ago. For example, this embroidery I did when I was 11 or 12, and I remember some of the things that happened when I was 11 or 12, and I remember learning this and doing this, but there are other things I don't remember. So the veiling is really appropriate because you have glimpses of memory sometimes. And this is called fragments, and that's why we've done the squares, and it's fragments to do with memory. I just love that whole theme. I think it's just so lovely to work on and so interesting. I'll keep working on this, and next time hopefully I'll have all of these stitched into place, maybe the extra circles also, and who knows how far I'll get. My Circle of Project journal that I'm doing with Lisbeth Degn of Dragenkunst is progressing well. I also had a break from this as well as the Coverlet, and because I needed to do some other things and because I was away. So it was really nice to just catch up on Lisbeth's videos and interpret the prompts for my journal. So I'll just find the right page. One of the suggestions that Lisbeth made, which I thought was a great suggestion, was to try and make your page spreads cohesive. So I've tried to do that, especially as I worked through the journal, not so much in the beginning, but as I worked along. And here I've used 2 lots of handmade paper, or 2 circles cut from handmade paper. And this one is a fern stitch. And this one is a couch chain stitch, I think it's called. And what you do is you do a chain stitch first, and then you go over it with straight stitches. I did encounter an issue when I was doing this because it's on paper, and that is that you can't do your holes too close together, because otherwise it works like a perforation and the shape will actually fall out. So I had to make little gaps in between the stitches that went over the top of the chain stitch, but you still get the effect. I used different threads for this, 4 different threads that all coordinate with each other. And I've mentioned before that this is a range called Eleganza. It's a pearl cotton in size 5. This was a plain green, and so was this. This is a variegated green and teal, I guess you could call it. And this is another variegated green and teal. That one's a paler version of this one. You'll notice I haven't gone over the chain stitch on the small circle. That's because I wanted to show the story of the process of this circle. So the chain stitch came first, and then these stitches over the top. And you get a bit of a 3D effect, which is really lovely. And I think that is something that I will use in the future. The fern stitch looks like a fly stitch, but it's actually done differently. And I think I've already talked about that. Then we turn the page, and here is week 42. I actually did week 42 before week 41, and I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed both of them. This one is just a zigzag stitch. So it's just straight stitches done one by one, but in a zigzag. And we were encouraged to experiment with it. I might have taken it maybe a step too far, I don't know, but I really enjoyed it. One of the things I did was, instead of using the circle that I'd cut out, which I thought I would use, I used the outside of the circle. And I've done this in a lot of my work over the years. I will still keep the circle and use it, maybe in the next one, I don't know. The background is some of my eco-printed paper, and I have cut some more of it for the next page. And as I said, I haven't decided whether I'll use the outside shape or whether I'll use the actual circle. We'll see. This is the last few bits of the handmade paper that I used in the previous spread also. As usual, I've mounted it on stitched vintage dictionary page and tea bag, and a stamped label, I guess you could call it, to show which week it is. I'm just going to share with you again my idea for a project for 2026. I have this little pot, which is shaped like a cottage from my China collection. I do love China. And in it, I have put some scraps of paper. These are single words. And the idea is that I will pull out a word every week, and everyone who wants to participate will be encouraged to make just a 5-inch square. So that's only about that big, slightly bigger than the Red for Courage squares, and to try and do an abstract interpretation of the word. The words I've chosen are not actual things. They are more descriptive words, and they can be interpreted in several ways. What I will do is I'll probably use a thesaurus so that we get not only the meaning, but we also get some of the words that are associated with the one that I choose. And I think it will trigger a lot of ideas and may even lead to other projects. If you're not used to working abstract, this might encourage you to do that. Every week, I will show you some ideas. I will also, in early December, in a video, share what materials you might need. But I will be encouraging you to use scraps and recycled fabrics, leftovers from other projects and so on, rather than going out and buying a whole lot of new fabrics for this project. I think old fabrics have a hidden story in them, and that can really add to the work that you do with it. So I've had a lovely, lovely response since I last talked about this, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what everyone comes up with the different words. One person also commented that it might be similar to another person's year-long project for 2025, and I had a look, and it is different, but thank you very much for raising that, because I don't want to inadvertently copy anybody, but I haven't seen one that's the same as this. I'm really looking forward to this project, and I'll talk about it again in December. Some of you have pointed out that I've made my episode 71 private and it can no longer be viewed. I felt I had to do this because I made an error of judgment with the video, and I really felt that I needed to do the right thing and take it off the air. Because I had recorded the latest Red for Courage squares that have arrived, I have included that clip again into this video just so that it doesn't disappear, because it's so lovely to receive these beautiful bits of stitchery and other gifts that you've sent, and I don't want it to get lost in the system. So I have repeated that. I've also added another one that somehow the footage got lost and you'll see that one as I share the video. And I'm just so pleased with what everybody has done and what's been contributed and the lovely things that have been said. I'm reactivating the Red for Courage scroll. By that I mean I'm going to start doing some more stitching to it, and I'm going to continue to do that for the next few months. These are all the squares that are not attached to the scroll yet. I did a proper count the other day, and there are 237 squares in total if I've counted correctly. They are just so beautiful, and they just make my heart so glad and warm when I see them. It's just beautiful. Thank you very, very much. So these will gradually be added to the scroll. I'm going to use some of the eco-dyed fabrics that I've done in the last couple of weeks to make the scroll longer, and I'll keep doing that, and I'll keep eco-dyeing or printing fabric as well to add to it for the backgrounds. The other development has been that I've found some fabric for the edge. Now, when I make the scroll, once I've attached all the squares, I want to do a kind of a border and maybe fold it to the back as well as a facing for the edge of the scroll. And I wanted to use a variety of red fabrics. This is the first one. There's quite a bit of this here. It won't do the whole scroll, but I will intersperse it with other red fabrics that I find. I didn't want a fire engine red. I wanted a kind of darker red and something that wasn't too patterned. Some people have also suggested that I make 2 scrolls out of this, but I think that it will probably have more impact as one whole scroll. I have decided to work on the next few pieces separately because the whole big scroll is quite cumbersome, and so that's what I'll do, and then I'll attach them in longer lengths as I go along rather than keeping it all one length and stitching on it. The scroll, I think, will have quite an impact. And, you know, when you've shared your stories with me and sent me your cards and letters, I have sensed that this has opened up something that celebrates not just what I've had been through and come out of the end of, but also what other people have experienced. And it's not just about cancer, it's about other experiences in life that have been difficult and that people have overcome in different ways. And that's just so wonderful. And thank you so much for sharing that with me. This is the scroll so far. You can see a bit of the invisible base that I've been using to attach the squares. And you can see how big it is compared to my hands. You know, it's a big scroll. And I'm really looking forward to finishing it and displaying it. I'm not only going to do an edge on it, though, with the red fabric that I showed you. I also want to add some embellishments once they are all attached. And I'm thinking of some kinds of simple embroidery or applique. Some of you have sent threads and fabrics as well, and it would be lovely to incorporate some of that with it. That will reveal itself to me as I go along. I need to work on a project and allow the project to show me what it needs. A few people have asked how long will it take, and I can't really say. We haven't been able to start our art shed yet. You know that we're struggling with bureaucracy a bit at the moment on a couple of levels. And, you know, I was hoping that maybe in the next few months we could at least make a start. That might still happen. I'm still trying to be hopeful. But this will be in the first exhibition in the art shed whenever that happens. And we are pushing through with it. We are determined to get that off the ground. I think it will be a wonderful way to celebrate opening the art shed, celebrating 5 years of being cancer-free and having the official all clear, and also to celebrate other people's stories, those who've contributed and those who come to see it. Don't you love the roses on this card? I have one that looks similar to this. It's in a pot and it's an old-fashioned moss rose. I don't think that's what this is, but the moss rose is a similar colour to this. So thank you very much to Lynn from Western Australia. I used to know Lynn when we lived in St Helens, but we haven't seen each other for years, and it's so lovely that you've joined in with this. Thank you very, very much. When I open the card, I see some treasures. So here we have a beautiful tattered bookmark, which represents a cross and other symbolic pieces in it as well. And attached to it is a little tag. The 3 rings at the top are the Trinity. The next 3 are the wise men. The 12 small rings are the 12 apostles. The 4 rings at the base are the 4 gospels. And that's just beautiful, and it's so beautifully worked. Thank you very much, Lynn. In addition, there's a fused glass pendant in the shape of a heart. Now, apart from birds, hearts have been a bit of a theme with the Red for Courage. And thank you so much, Lynn. As I've explained to everyone a few times, red was very important to me when I was going through my cancer treatment. I wore red nearly every day when I went in to have the treatment, which took about 3 months. And so this is really lovely, and I will certainly wear it. And then last but not least, of course, we come to the square. And the square has beautiful, rich colours, which really reflect the card as well. And beautiful piece of, it looks like embroidered ribbon there, some purple lace and lovely red fringed fabric. Just a lovely simple design which showcases the materials that were used on it. So I really, really appreciate this, and it will make a lovely addition to the Red for Courage scroll. When I last shared with you about the Red for Courage project, we had reached 218 squares, which came from all over the world, from lovely people that watch this channel, which is you, also people who follow me on social media and who know me personally. And they keep coming. I've had a break from videoing the things that have arrived and also from stitching on the Red for Courage scroll, because I had a few commitments like exhibitions and the retreat that I was going away on. but I'm going to reactivate it again. So I wanted to share with you what has arrived since I last shared this in a video, probably 3 videos back, and just show you the lovely things that people have sent in the mail. I think we may have reached close to 250 squares. Thank you so much, everybody who has participated. Some of you have sent more than 1 square. Some of you have sent some beautiful cards, written me some lovely things, sent some gifts, which certainly was not something that I was looking for and which was totally unexpected and just wonderful. And even things like the way things have been packaged. For example, this one, which arrived the other day, has been packaged in tissue paper with birds on it. How lovely is that, especially for somebody who loves birds? And then when I opened it, there is a little pouch which has been handmade, and inside some lovely treasures. First of all, the 2 squares, one featuring a bee and the other one featuring the word liberty, and they are just beautiful. They incorporate some lace, lots of stitching, different fabrics which look like vintage fabrics, and they will make a lovely addition to the Red for Courage scroll. There's also a hand-stamped tag in it and a little note: to Rita, 2 squares for your scroll of courage and bravery. And then also the name, and I'm sorry I can't quite read it. So if you're watching this video, can you please tell me what your name is? I can see that it starts with S, possibly Sarah N, but I'm not really sure. My girls in my stitching group had a look too, and none of us are any the wiser. So please, can you tell me who you are so that I can read your name? Then when I open it a bit more, there was this lovely envelope which the tag was in, which has also been hand decorated. And inside are some gorgeous little Suffolk puffs. How beautiful. So thank you so much. I so appreciate what you sent me. It is just beautiful. And this came from Oxfordshire in the UK. Here's another lovely square, and it also has a spiral on it and a card that came with it. Happy thoughts and warm hugs always, Alice. And a lovely letter as well. And thank you so much, Alice, for sharing your story. You've had quite a journey, and I love to hear about how you are now well and the ways that you were able to achieve that. So well done, and thank you so much for being part of this project. That's one of the lovely things that's happened, that people have shared their own stories, and I really, really appreciate you trusting me with those. Thank you. Here's a lovely handmade card with collage and a beautiful little square with the word strong on it. And a lovely card. This is from Sally. And Sally sent this from New York. And really beautiful. Thank you very, very much, Sally. And thank you for what you wrote inside the card too. I really, really appreciate it. This square came from Victoria in Australia. And it's been attached to a piece of card, and it's beautiful embroidery on it. And an image of a famous artist called Frida Kahlo, I think it is. And very inspirational. Thank you. And there's another one on the back. Beautiful card as well, with a photograph on it, and a lovely letter, and this came from Kerry. Thank you so much, Kerry. Absolutely beautiful, and I love the reds. I know I only asked for red thread, and you could use anything else, but a lot of people have used red embroidery and fabrics as well, and I just think it's beautiful the way everyone has created their squares. This is another handmade card with what looks like handmade paper with little plants embedded in it and a little bit of fabric. Absolutely beautiful. And this is from Pat. Thank you so much, Pat. And I love your simple design and little heart button as well. And thank you so much for the thoughts you've expressed in your card also. Really lovely. It's such a treasure trove when I open these envelopes. This one is a lovely square featuring some embroidered lettering, the web of life and rejoice. And this one is from Barb. With it, there's a lovely card which looks like letterpress. It's actually lovely. Everywhere the world stopped and we heard our own hearts in the quiet saying, reach out and lift each other up. If you wonder what there is to celebrate this year. And then there's some lovely writing that Barb sent me, and about following your dreams, which I think is really, really important. And this beautiful square. So thank you so much, Barb. And Barb sent this all the way from Idaho in the United States. Thank you. This gorgeous square came from Madame Yvonne in Switzerland. There is a bit more to your name, but it was covered up by all the stickers that the postage system put on it. So thank you so much. And it has a lovely 3D design to it. If I hold it sideways, you can see, you know, that it's coming proud of the surface, which I really love. And some beautiful tactile fabrics, very beautifully stitched down in what seems to be a random way, but a lovely design. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for contributing to the Red for Courage scroll. This lovely square is from Sue, and she has also stitched a little heart on it, and I love the blanket stitch detail there too. A beautiful card showing an owl, which is just lovely. Does it say what kind of owl? It just says Hootie, and it's by Shirley Henderson. That's just so beautiful. Thank you very much, Sue, for sending this to the Red for Courage project. Here is a lovely bird card. So many cards feature birds, just so lovely. And when I open it, there's this lovely square by Ulrika. Ulrika comes from the Netherlands. And thank you so much, Ulrika. Lovely textures there as well. These were sent to me by a group that meets together in Tassie. And they sent me a beautiful card showing a wonderful landscape. And several people were part of this. They met together and just did some squares for me, which is lovely. So thank you so much to Rosemary, Helen, Deb, Tone and Ingrid. So beautiful. And I'll just lay them out so you can see the squares that they've made. Might be a good idea to turn them around. And there we go. They are just beautiful. Thank you so much. What a lovely thing to do, to meet together as a group and do things like this that encourages other people.